So like I'm just here to like record. I don't really know what I'm doing. I set up a bunch of like lights and flashy stuff because that's the stuff that I like, you know. Helps me hold down a cool little vibe. But um I guess I'll just talk about myself. But lately I've been focusing a lot more on my mental health. Um, I noticed like a really big decline in my mental health recently, and I know it's because of a lot of the trauma and abuse that I witnessed and experienced as a child. I'm also the kind of person that is very hard on themselves. Like, I'm a perfectionist. I like everything to go exactly the way that I want it to go every time without deviations. But something I've realized is that over the course of these years of life, there have been a lot of deviations, and things don't always go the way that I planned them to go. I I used to make a lot of assumptions about people and their intentions and their hearts, and now I realize that, really people are kind of unpredictable when it comes to the actions that they'll take to get what they want from you or for themselves primarily. It really has nothing to do with you per se, but if you share a common goal, then they can have a perspective of what you should be in their life, and a lot of times that may not necessarily align with what you want for yourself. And I think the same thing goes for what you want for yourself, not always aligning with the way things go, you know. So I had all these big dreams and stuff, and all these big things I want to do. I want to do this by that time, that by this time. But I've found that, for one, like when you try to rush things and try to make things happen by a certain time, it has a tendency to backfire when you're not necessarily implementing certain consistent steps. Just like if you want to make a sandcastle, you put the sand into the thing and then you stack the thing up and then you remove it and then you have a castle, right? Well, maybe not. Maybe you did it the first time with dry sand and the castle didn't quite come out the way you wanted it to. So you had to get wet sand. But you had to go through trial and error to realize that. But that takes actually implementing steps. Now, if there's no like help or like, you know, instruction manual, you gotta kind of figure out a lot of this stuff on your own. And especially if you come from a family that is not necessarily united, then especially you're gonna have to learn early on that, you'll take responsibility for all of your failures. And now, one thing that I do pride myself in is that I've never given up and that I've made it this far in life, and I've really done a lot of things and accomplished a lot, and actually made a lot of my dreams come true. A lot of things that I've always wanted, I've experienced them. Now, I didn't know that every experience does have a price. Once you go through something, you can't unknow what you know. And then what you know will, that's the water from there's water in here that flows in the pipelines and stuff. It's a house, you guys. I live in a house, alright? But once you know something, it won't necessarily go away. Once you've seen something, that vision or that sight stays with you. And that's one of the things that I'm addressing right now, especially more than ever before, is that a lot of the things that I wanted to accomplish now, with the new knowledge that I have and the new sights I've seen and the new experiences, I'm a completely different man than I anticipated I would be at this time. And it's emotional, it's a lot. It's a lot to handle on my own. And that's why I've looked to those around me for support in terms of, emotional, mental, physical, spiritual. I'm a man that in the past I've been very arrogant, headstrong, stubborn, and egotistical, and not even being aware of these things. They were just part of who I was and how I felt. And I had this vision of myself as being this magnificent being, but then I wasn't necessarily always being thoughtful of others, And I think it's great to have self-esteem, but I think that your self-esteem can only go so far if you're thinking about yourself. I think that if you add others into your self-esteem, that your self-esteem will actually be higher. If you have friends that you think of highly, and you think highly of your parents, and you think highly of your siblings, then I think that your self-esteem will be better than if you only think highly of yourself and of no one else. One thing I've come to learn is that I'm not so different than anyone else. I have feelings just like everyone else has feelings, and people are all doing the best that they can with what they know. And that's why I'm not hard on myself or others, no matter the circumstance. I take things as they come, and I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here. Happy to be here. All right.